Welcome to the Profit Formula. I'm co-host Paul Wilson Jr. My partner, co-host Michael P. Upshaw Sr. is behind the scenes today. He's going to do a little on the production side. So I'm riding solo on this one, but excited about today's show. Of course, if this is your first time to the Profit Formula, our focus is on profits, right? And we don't shy away from that. But not just profit for the sake of, we're trying to make a lot of money. But if you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur, small business, growing business, and yes, you may be generating revenues, but how do you make sure that your business is profitable, sustainable, so that you can actually grow? And the guests that we have on the show, really the focus is on their life story, their career path, the things that they learned, the things that they succeeded at, things they may have failed at, but all in the name of they're able to build a profitable business, or several of them, over time. And so today's guest is no different. I'm excited because this is a really good friend of mine, Donald Lamar. But I'm going to read his bio and make sure you all get a full scope of who Donald is, because he's done a lot of things for a long period of time. When I say long, a long period of time that Donald's experience expands. But we're gonna learn a lot today because he is a wealth of knowledge. But Donald is a recognized, nationally respected business strategist, entrepreneurial leadership consultant, and advocate for minority-owned businesses. With more than 3 decades, I said 3 decades, that's a long time, Donald, experience spanning aerospace engineering, federal contracting, and small business development. He brings a blend of technical expertise, strategic insight, and relationship relationship-driven leadership to every engagement. He began his career as an aerospace software engineer at McDonnell Douglas aircraft company, and later contributed to mission-critical defense systems at General Dynamics, earning secret-level government clearance. He later founded Drayton & Lamar, an award-winning IT and consulting firm that generated over $50 million in lifetime value while achieving SBA 8A certification, SCIC MMI level 2 and 3 appraisals, and DCAA compliant infrastructure. If you don't know what that is, just know that's a big deal in the government contracting space. I could read so much more of this, but Donald, right, has been, again, a multi-time business owner. Also, he was a franchise owner of Uncle Mattio's Pizza. He's been a teacher in STEM education in Gwinnett. And again, Donald remains committed to helping entrepreneurs move from knowledge to execution through trust, strategy, and faith-centered guidance. That's a mouthful. But again, Donald, you've done a lot. But again, it's my honor, man, to have you on the show as a friend, but also be able to pick your brain, too, on some business knowledge today.
Well, listen, Paul, I am excited about being here. Number one, we haven't had the opportunity to work with one another or support each other in a forum that's like this. And so, again, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
And this is just going to be a natural conversation, as we banter back and forth. We've done that since we've met, and we're going to continue to do that today, but hopefully be able to drop some knowledge in and around for the viewers that are, participating, in this. And so just let's go.
Absolutely. Now, let's do it. And for those who don't know, so Donald and I actually first met at Georgia State at the Small Business Development Center. So I had the honor, actually, of hiring Donald as a consultant. And like I said, now it was around 2018, 2019, somewhere in there.
In that space.
But we've been kind of rocking ever since, and really man of God, family man, 2 incredible daughters, wonderful wife. But we're gonna kind of unpack some of that. But let's go back to the beginning.
Let's
right,
go.
And kind of where your career started. And I know one of the things that we do share, we find out over time, we both have an appreciation for aviation and airplanes and things like that. So let's talk about at the beginning of your career, kind of where things started.
Well, for those who may not know, I'm also an HBCU grad.
That's right. Yes,
so
absolutely.
I'm very, very proud alumni of Prairie View A&M University, right outside of Houston. And so from that experience, basically, I've always carried this liking for flight, this understanding of being able to fly. So I went to Prairie View for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was an engineering school. And by going to an engineering school, I graduated electrical engineering. At the time, it also had a program in there, ROTC program in there for those who might want to join the service. And so I had considered joining the service after my education to become a fighter pilot. So that was ultimately what my dream was going to be back then. And so in going to school and also with this desire to fly, I really dive deep inside that and trying to get an understanding what does that mean. But
It's
it
funny that you
requires
say that,
4
but-
years.
yeah.
It takes 4 years to do that. Go ahead.
It's funny it's that because I was early on too, right? My goal was actually to be a fighter pilot too.
Wow.
Right, and engineering was going to be the path.
Okay.
Right, that I was going to follow. I deviated later, but that's just interesting, from that standpoint. So you said it took 4 years
Yes,
to kind of navigate that.
Well,
Yeah.
since engineering degree is about 4 to 5
Right,
years.
right.
But in order to go into the service, as an officer,
Right, yeah.
going through the ROTC program gave you the ability to go in at that level,
Right.
And that's what it took if you were going to go into flight school, if you were going to be interested in trying to fly.
Right.
And so that's the route that I took. But over time, as I began all my studies and whatnot, I start looking more deeply at what those requirements looked like. For you had to have perfect eyesight. There's a number of different things.
Same thing.
And
yeah,
so
this right here is why
Yes.
I wasn't able to fly. Yeah, back then. Yeah.
And my reason basically was I ended up in the comedy side.
Right.
I wanted to minimize my options of putting gas in the plane as opposed to flying one.
Gotcha. Right.
And nothing wrong with that.
Right,
but I
right.
wanted to fly. I wanted
Yeah,
to be a top
exactly.
gun.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a top gun pilot. But fortunately for me, since I didn't go into ROTC and I did graduate with electrical and engineering degree, I was able to go into aerodynamics working, for either an aerospace company or one of the commercial companies. So I actually started out working with McDonnell Douglas aircraft company in Long Beach, California.
Gotcha.
So there's a big, connection over there in California. And I was there for a couple of years working in their flight deck simulations group, which was very interesting. And really at the time, a lot of the people fly on planes, even today, that I kind of helped to some degree be a part of that experience. So I worked with the MD-11, the McDonnell Douglas MD-11 on the flight deck simulations crew.
Okay.
Primarily on the avionics side, which was controlling all the lighting in the cockpit.
Okay.
As a co-pilot or a pilot, all the lighting and systems that were in the aircraft were controlled by these computers. So my job was to simulate a lot of that. So I had a huge experience in learning how that looked. The simulations department at that time also covered a geographic territory. You could fly out of LA and land in New York. And so we did a lot of training for those airlines who wanted their pilots to understand what these new aircrafts were very capable of. So at a very young age, I was really excited about doing that. Though that, was exciting. But what really leaped me into more interest in flight is I had an opportunity to then work for General Dynamics out of Fort Worth, Texas. Primarily, it was the assembly plant for the F-16, but they were working on a new stealth fighter at the time that was going to replace a fighter on any of the aircraft carriers that had airplanes that would.
Right. So you working on stealth.
I definitely was working, and that was the basis of me getting some secret.
You can't probably talk too much about because you probably had to kill us if you did.
Such a long time ago. I can talk all I want to about.
They're not worried about you anymore.
They ain't worried about me at all.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about nobody showing up my front.
Right.
But it was funny in the secret clearances. They did go to the neighborhoods that I lived in and check out the sources of what my past looked like. Just security requirements. But it was just fun because I was excited about flight. And then at that point, working on a program where the stealth fighter was the design of choice at that time. And so you see a lot of them now, but the reality of it is there's so many different programs that involve stealth characteristics. But at that time, it was one of maybe one or two that embodied, creating a stealth fighter for the Navy to replace some older aircrafts that they had at the time. Now, I'm just going to spring them because I don't want to stay on that too long.
We can stay there, but that
was the basis of my interest in flight. And that kind of carry over to some of the experiences maybe we'll get a chance to talk about here today.
Absolutely.
But in that, I was a software engineer. So I developed a lot of software, many different languages at the time that now that's, software writes software now. But back then, you're coding.
You had to code.
I had to code. I had to debug. I had to do all of those things. basically from the ground up.
Right.
So
right.
that gave me a real opportunity to learn about the frameworks that we use now, and how AI is generated, and what we need in order to understand how that technology is useful for us
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. Right.
And so what's even more exciting is that from that experience is where I started to develop the entrepreneurial bug.
Got you.
So,
I was going to ask you kind of where that transition was.
Yes.
Right. But in terms of your engineering skills and software engineering, how did that then translate over into entrepreneurship? When did you start making that transition?
Well, let me just build a little foundation with that.
Sure.
My father always had an entrepreneurial spirit,
Okay.
but he never had the ability, or I don't want to say the ability, he never had the opportunity to really explore that.
Right.
So
right,
he
right.
would always talk to me. It was something that sit in the back of your mind. It was kind of a mindset. He would just say, Donald, or in that time people would call me Ray. He'd say, Ray, I think just keep thinking. You go to engineering school, think about what you can do for yourself. And he was quite accomplished, in what he was doing, but he never had the opportunity to start his business.
Gotcha.
And so at a subliminal way, that's always resting in the back of my mind. So as I develop my skill set, software development,
Right.
Working for this company or that company, and I used to be able to see how the skills that a lot of the people I was working with, my colleagues, could use and would be working for themselves.
Right.
Right. And I could see the result, the resources they were getting by being able to do the things that they were happy about and skilled for themselves.
Right. Gotcha.
And I went to work for this boutique consulting company. And I don't know if you ever saw this film. I think Tom Cruise was called The Firm.
Yes.
But so I worked for a company that's very similar to that.
Okay.
And so,
Now,
and it was
they
based
have,
in Chicago.
They had like mafia and chasing y'all around and stuff like that.
Just imagine with a horse head in my bedroom. No.
Oh, so they did. I'm joking. Right. If you know, you know, right?
Yeah.
You gotta know mafia movies, but we won't stay there. Keep going.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
my
you.
pleasure.
No, but I used to see these people making a large amount of money in these type of consulting organizations, but I am the one working on the projects, so I'm the
Gotcha.
one delivering. They
But
building
they-
the expectation.
You building it, but they making the money.
Yeah,
on it.
they're building the expectation, and I'm doing the execution.
Right.
And then when you start to realize, wait a minute, there's something wrong with that picture. I believe I'm able to do that
Yeah.
for myself. And so those thoughts that my father had placed, in my mindset carried over to let's think about doing this for yourself.
Right. Right.
And so
Yeah. Gotcha.
I end up starting a business with my business partner, which to this very day. So
Okay.
we're talking well over 40 years.
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
still in business with my business partner today.
Gotcha. That's incredible, man. Had a much staying power.
Yes, over 30
yeah.
years in the business, known him
Right.
from over 40 years, because he was one of the gentlemen that I was working with when I first started, or when I moved to Georgia, working for
Okay.
a contractor.
Right. Right.
And so it's been a beauty, because he's seen the transition of my life from the very beginning all the way to this very day.
Gotcha,
Birth of my
gotcha.
children, my weddings, all of that.
Everything.
And in
Now
between.
old age, right? So he's seen,
Now, for him,
seen
yes,
all the-
not for me. Might be for you, Paul.
Right.
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry.
Thank
we'll,
you.
we'll keep it. We'll keep it moving. So what was that business that you all
We started a company called Drake Lamar,
Okay.
better
Gotcha.
known as DDL.
Okay.
And when we started it, I believe we started in such a long ago. I think it was in 1990, maybe 1991,
Okay. Gotcha.
or it might have been 92. But in that time frame, we decided, because we were both working. I actually recruited him to work for this firm,
Okay.
and so he was working as a senior consultant, and so was I.
Right.
And so it was in Augusta, Georgia, but I had already moved to Atlanta.
Okay.
So I work with a lot of prominent companies that are here. The name a few: Georgia Pacific,
Okay.
and a few others, Georgia Southern. Well, we did some things on the consulting basis through the firm.
The firm. Gotcha.
Right? And so when I recruited him in, we actually were downtown Atlanta. Still remember, I think down at the Peachtree, somewhere over where the Georgia Pacific building is still located today.
Mm-hmm.
And in between, we wrote the name of our company on a napkin while we were having lunch.
Okay, gotcha. So one of those real
It
on
was
a
on
napkin
the back
moments.
of a
Yeah.
little nasty napkin with a bunch of sauce on it from wings.
Right.
I still remember it well. And the vision actually was born from there.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Gotcha.
making the decision to do this for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because we were there at Georgia Pacific working on behalf of the firm.
Gotcha.
And, God blessed me in such a way that I went ahead and start working independent at Georgia Pacific.
Okay.
I was able to get out underneath some of the contracts I had with the firm.
Gotcha.
And I went independent
And you start
at Georgia Pacific.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I had built a relationship with one of the CIOs there that invited me in at Georgia Pacific
Okay.
to continue doing that work.
Gotcha.
And that was
so
the
this is
catalyst.
technology based.
This was technology
Okay,
based. This
all
was
right.
all about writing code
Okay.
and building programs.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
So that's kind of where the start of our firm became, but it was the entrepreneurial experience that I had always been working towards. Now it's like it's in my face. What you gonna do
Right.
with it right now?
Absolutely.
And so, probably a little later, as the company grew, we were able to do a lot of commercial work in and around this country, integrating a lot of systems together. I won't date everybody about the kind of systems that we were working with at the time, but it was a catalyst for the company's growth.
Gotcha.
And so we had a national footprint supporting a lot of customers from this systems integrator that we were a third party vendor to.
Okay.
So that was really, really a cool thing. And then one day,
got that call.
one day,
Okay.
I looked at a program because we were trying to build the company and to scale it. And I looked at a program that was coming out of the SBA called 8A.
Okay. 8A.
Called
If you don't know what 8A is, you need to look it up. But it was a major growth engine.
It was
for you
and it's so much I can tell you about it today as it's changed from what it was when I first got into it.
Gotcha.
But I looked at a program, and I looked at that program from a strategic standpoint, having already had a successful history with past performance working commercially.
Right.
And so I got in and learned a lot about the program and what it was requiring and how it can be of an advantage to you. And I brought that back for my partner and I to discuss.
Gotcha.
And we were able to get into that program, and it actually kind of changed our lives from that point moving forward. And it still can today.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
Ultimately, I'm going to fast forward with all that because our experiences that we've had.
Right.
I've had.
Well, let's right before we go there.
Okay.
Well, let's just to recap. So if you had to talk about, let's say, encapsulate the history of that. Like, so I know at one point you guys were up to 150 employees.
Yeah, we had 155 employees.
Yeah.
I had an office in Augusta, Georgia. I had an office in Arlington, Virginia, or a couple of different offices. One, I know in Arlington, Virginia. We had another one that was in Alexandria, Virginia.
Yeah.
We had the whole 5th floor at a suite, an office suite, what they call office Class A space that I actually designed.
Okay.
With an architect.
Wow.
With our whole emblems and all that other, the logos and all that. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I had it.
So this wasn't just y'all talking about being in business.
This was about straight business.
You are straight business.
150 employees,
government
an
contracts.
infrastructure in place, government contracts.
Yeah.
And doing the work.
Absolutely.
And just doing the work.
A lot of times, people talk about being a boss these days, and you look at their social media, and it looks like they are doing everything everywhere. But, once you pull back the curtains, a lot of that is not real.
It's the Wizard of Oz. Who's that behind the screen?
Right. There's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here, right? But I just want to paint that, let people hear, right, that you all were doing legitimate business with legitimate contract and literally grew a very large company.
It was a very large company. It was massive for me at the age that I was at.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really able to understand, what I really had.
Right.
I understood, but, when you look at it through the lens of what these businesses.
Where you come from.
Yes. It's just a little different experience now. But I have to be able to be appreciative of what God blessed, us with at the time, not even really knowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was
And you have to appreciate it in the moment, because sometimes, like say, we may be doing things and we don't realize how significant it is at the time, because we're just doing it, right? We're just living
doing it, just
in
moving,
business, right? Just right.
just
and
moving.
then 5 years later, it's like, oh wow, that actually was a pretty big deal, right? Or
And it was
however
the
long.
catalyst to all the other opportunities you talked about.
Yeah.
The pizza place. I probably have done some consulting in at least 50. Oh no, not 50. 40 states that are out there.
Wow.
From
Wow.
other experiences,
Yeah,
from traveling,
absolutely.
working independently, or maybe working for a boutique consulting company. So I've had the absolute pleasure to work
Yeah.
with small businesses, regardless of what their area of specialty
Yeah.
was. You
Definitely.
know, just learning the fundamentals of what makes a business profitable.
Absolutely.
This is the
Yeah.
profit.
This is the profit formula.
The
You're right,
profit
right.
formula. And what hard work,
Yeah.
ethic, determination, confidence,
Absolutely.
all that goes into it.
Definitely.
That culminates into what I have going on now.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things, just want to hit on one point about the restaurant, because when you were telling me about, once we met and you told me about the restaurant experience, because a lot of people, let's say maybe in different types of food industry, whether it's the restaurant, catering, I just want to make cookies and sell them. And we talk about the profit formula, right? One of the things you told me and shared with me is about like food costs and labor, right? And how not only, they're a big deal, but how you have to be so detailed and so precise, right, with those things in order to have a profitable business. And it's not just in this case, I just want to make a lot of food, or I just want to make good food. But in terms of, if you're going to do business in that space, so it relates to food, it relates to other places too. But could you just kind of just give us a snapshot of that? Because I think, again, a lot of people, when they think about business, they just think about making the money side. Right. They're not thinking about, okay, how do I actually manage my expenses to make sure I have a profit at the end of the day? And you have to be very precise and detailed in understanding your expenses as much as you pay attention to your revenues.
Absolutely. I mean, I will say that's even an understatement, because it was a street education, and I had a formal background.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you understand what I said?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, both.
Yeah. So I knew exactly what I needed to do
Yeah.
academically, but when I got hit, like the Mike Tyson thing, you get hit with them expenses in the
Right,
face,
right. You don't
and
have
the
a-
plan
nobody
goes
has
out the window.
Right, exactly,
You
right.
got to execute.
Yeah.
So with the type of business I had in the restaurant, I actually went into the restaurant business for a really a family reason and context.
Right.
But I didn't know how that was really going to affect me business-wise. I didn't
Yeah.
know the experience, because I'll end up having to go into the restaurant myself and run it.
Gotcha.
You know,
that wasn't really initially
that
the
was
plan.
not the plan.
Right.
It was
Right.
absolutely. I actually
Yeah.
had the franchise rights for all of Gwinnett County for Uncle Mattio's back in its early day.
Right,
You know,
right,
and I
right.
was scheduled to build about 3 stores. I built
Okay.
one store.
Yeah.
Very proud of the store we built. Still have the information on it. I go there every Friday, because now it's another restaurant, and it's
Yeah.
so funny because my wife and we go in there and we eat, and they are still using a lot of the same equipment
Wow.
that I actually put in there.
Gotcha.
I go into the restaurant. These
They should
owners,
be comping you for that's the case.
absolutely. They have no idea that I used to own this spot.
Right. Right.
And I created this,
Yeah.
all of that.
Gotcha.
And so they're using pieces of what was created since 2013, 2014.
Okay. Gotcha.
When I actually opened it. But, back to addressing your question, I guess what I learned from that experience, especially on the restaurant side, when it comes to business, definitely is the labor
Right.
and the food costs. Because there were sometimes just trying to have the kind of labor that was reliable enough to be at a restaurant of that type. Now, I had a
Right.
fast casual restaurant.
Right.
It was 90 seats.
Okay.
It was if they got several of them, but it was all where you had food tables, you had a kitchen full. I had grease traps, you name it. Everything that's in a modern restaurant that you know of today.
Right.
Especially if you've ever gone to some of these fast casual pizza places that are built like a Moe's Pizza, where you
Right.
have the multiple items that
Laid
you can
out.
pick.
Gotcha.
And so that's where I learned the art of the menu. This is why I learned, what labor really costs to create
Yeah.
what's on that menu,
Right.
and how you priced it so that you could be profitable, and how you had to engage yourself in the community to keep your customers coming back.
Right.
So that was a real experience, because I didn't have that type of a background from engineering into the restaurant space.
Right. So it's a whole different
It was
world.
a completely
Yeah.
different ball game.
Yeah.
And I lost a couple of reliable managers that I had hired
Okay.
to run it, and they moved
Right.
to the other areas of the country. And as a way to keep my shirt on, because
Right.
I had heavily invested, I had to go into the restaurant
Yeah.
and run it
Right.
and
Right.
learn, these costs, these expenses, and the labor, what it takes to make that,
Yeah.
ordering, all of the materials and all of
Right.
the food products, and making sure I understood, all of the different, I guess, I don't want to call it certifications, but, the food preps,
Yeah.
and people coming by and making sure that you are meeting certain expectations
Yeah.
from the county,
Right,
when they
right.
would
You got
sneak
your
up on
health
you,
inspector,
the
yeah,
health
right.
inspections, and,
Yeah.
and understanding all of that was a big mountain.
Yeah,
And one of the things I learned from that, since you're asking the question, is that you can't be an absentee owner at
right.
a level like that. Now,
Yeah.
if you're balling and you got people in there,
Right,
that's one
right.
thing. But if you're trying to create a unique experience for a community, you have to be hands-on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's very hard not to be hands-on if you're not there making sure
Yeah.
that the place is running good, because you're probably typically dealing with labor that's high school.
Right,
These are
right.
high school
Yeah.
students coming in
Yeah.
here. And
Very
so
fickle.
you
Love
know,
high school.
In the
Yeah.
area that I was in, all of those high school kids had money. So
right.
the jobs that they were working for me was just something they
Wasn't no
wanted
big
to do.
deal. Right,
Their mother
right,
and their
right.
father told them to go out, make sure you bring some money back.
Right.
And they would
Exactly.
end up working for me.
Yeah, yeah.
With
Right.
attitudes. And
Right.
I don't have to be here. I don't.
Right, exactly.
And so I used to find myself from time to
So
time.
you had to develop your people skills too.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I would
absolutely.
find my time. You could
Leadership.
ask. My wife was so funny. It was a couple of Sundays I sold pizza that I actually had to get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to go make dough
Right.
to make sure we were prepared for the next day,
Yeah,
because my labor wasn't dependent,
Right, right.
dependable. I'll put it
Yeah.
like that.
And
So
that's,
anyway,
that's business, right?
that is
And
absolute
yeah,
business,
right.
and you need to know, and you need to know those costs,
Yeah.
because if you're not able to use the systems to measure what
Right.
you're using, what you're spending, and how you're generating profit, you could lose your shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again.
And sometimes it's the little things, but that can compile over time, right? Which means you got to really pay attention to the details. Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to pay attention to if you want to make some money.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
need to know your costs. You need to know and have systems in place that can report accurate information so you can make sound decisions.
Absolutely.
It's crucial.
Definitely, absolutely, and so we'll kind of keep moving forward, because but I think what you just said, you just dropped some key knowledge, because a lot of times people think, well, if I just set up systems and just automate everything, right, I can step away and just let the systems handle everything, right? And some things you might be able to do that, but you still can't be an absentee owner, right? Absentee entrepreneur.
It cannot
right?
be.
You have to focus on the details and even if it gets bigger. Right, there's just other things you got to focus on, right? You know what I mean? As your team.
Entrepreneurship is a lifestyle.
Absolutely,
It's,
absolutely,
it's not something you get into.
definitely.
It's not something you you happen
casually
yourself upon.
kinda, yeah,
No,
yeah.
there are times where it's very fulfilling because you are doing something that's vision oriented.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there are times like, man, I don't listen.
Right.
This is it.
I'm
Next
done.
week I'm gonna
Throw
go
that
find
away.
me another
Right,
job.
right,
I
exactly.
need somebody else to worry
Right,
about all
right,
that.
right, exactly. Good.
And that's the
Yeah.
truth. But when you line yourself up with your vision and your mission, and it comes together with what God has blessed you with, then you have what it takes to overcome those type of obstacles.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you should be an expectation that they are going to be there,
Right,
and you have
right.
to push through.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
there's one thing to be concerned about vision. And thinking this up and strategizing. Is another thing to execute what you already know.
Absolutely.
Part of that is in faith, but
Right.
you have to still be executing.
You gotta get out there
based
and
on
do
that
it.
knowledge. So
Yeah, absolutely. So and that's powerful. So we're gonna speed ahead a little bit. Of course, several years sounds like right after that, you and I met at Georgia State and worked together at the Small Business Development Center, and so we got to know each other, begin to grow as brothers also in Christ, as well as in business. And then a few years after that, and we can come back to that but I want to jump to DRL Group. Because I know you after I left Small Business Development Center, went to the Russell Center. About 3 or 4 months later, you left and became the Small Business Development Center at Morehouse, right? And it was there for a little while. But then in the last year or so, you have kind of re-entered these entrepreneurial waters, kind of like myself. And it's funny, you did it, and then a couple of months later, I was doing it. with the DRL group.
Yes.
So let's kind of focus on there. And we'll kind of wrap in some of the Georgia State stuff too.
Okay.
But let's lock in on what is the DRL group? What are you doing now? And why are you continuing, down this entrepreneurial path, with all that you've experienced in the past, but you're back here again, right? As not just helping entrepreneurs, but as an entrepreneur.
Well, yeah, the DRL group. Again, I think what I mentioned earlier, entrepreneurship for most people, for me, people like me, is a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's something I don't navigate around. This is not nothing I'm pivoting to.
Right.
It's a part of my makeup.
Yeah.
It's a DNA thing for me.
Gotcha.
I don't say that for everybody. And so it allows you to put yourself in a position to be in control. Mm-hmm. Yeah. More so than out of control. I don't have to line up with certain bureaucracies. I'm talking about customers. I'm talking about bureaucracies and
organizations,
other organizational theories and thoughts, and that all has its place.
Right.
I'm not shying away from that. But when you're given a vision, and then if you decide your vision translates into a purpose or a passion, and you can get to a point where you converge passion and purpose together, there's an explosion of excitement, regardless of where you are. So I'm doing what I'm called to do.
Yeah, I got you. I hear you.
This is
and that's powerful. Like I said, it's not chasing some goal or chasing money.
I'm not chasing goal. I'm doing what I was called to do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
In my entire experience over at Morehouse, once I was a small business the director there, was really a unique journey to take a lot of what was already in my mind and apply it practically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the way I even ran my shop was based on my own theory.
Gotcha.
To either someone's liking or disliking.
Right.
But
it was yours. You owned it. Yeah,
I'm confident enough.
And that's part of the entrepreneur journey. Everybody's not going to like the way you do what you do. Right.
And I can't make anybody like it.
Yeah.
But you measure the results, and it'll be pretty clear.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the bottom line.
I know I had an extreme craft in federal government contracting. It's an extreme skill set because I've gone through the entire process.
Right.
I'm not someone who's talking about theory.
Right.
I'm not someone even on the government side, the people who are in positions to control or let contracts. Well, I came up on the other side of the fence.
Right.
I'm someone who had to go in that journey.
Right.
And so my experience is different than someone telling you how to get to it and showing you what you need to do and how you need to be certified. No, my experience comes from I had to take that pathway and try it for myself to see whether it was going to work. If it didn't work, I had to alter that and then take another route to success.
Absolutely.
And so that's the route that's where the experience is.
Right.
A lot of people can talk it.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people are knowledgeable about this, that, and the other. Yeah. But until
you walk that path.
Right. Just like in my fraternity, you cross the burning sands.
Right.
There's a different perspective about it. There's a different look. You can be successful in many things.
Right.
But when you're driven, in this case, purpose-driven, passion-driven, then you're not there to avoid the obstacle. You're there to move through it.
Absolutely. Definitely. No, that's powerful. Because one of the things that you're taking that knowledge that you have, is providing technical assistance to other businesses who are trying to who are walking that path and need really an experienced guide, to help them navigate that space, which is what you're doing. So unapologetically, exactly. And one of the things I love about what you do, and it's in your mission statement, it's in everything that you talk about.
Partnership,
is partnership. So talk about the critical importance of partnership, because a lot of times people will jump out there again these entrepreneurial streets and feel like, oh, I got to either do it myself, or they're afraid to partner because they're afraid somebody's going to take something from them or take their ideas. But you came out from the jump again. Well, we've been talking about partnership forever, but even when you launched your company, everything has been based on partnerships and collaboration. Talk about the why that's so important to you personally, but really why more people really should be embracing the concepts of partnership. And
absolutely.
practice.
Again, I'm sorry, because I got caught up into
you're good.
living experience.
We're flowing.
But the company I'm working with now, I created called the DRL Group.
Right.
Very specifically designed for what partnership is all about. So you look at my logo, it's partnership matters.
Right.
So the one thing I've learned, over the years being in many different businesses, your chances of success, they advance significantly.
Right.
When you look at investment, somebody invest in a company and what they're looking for is like a 10x, 5x,
Right.
or whatever you want to use the terminology. Consider it that way when partnership matters.
Right.
Because when you start to partner and collaborate with people who are aligned with your vision and they understand your value and they have value that you can pull together, then partnership matters.
Absolutely.
And so now you're looking at a situation where you were a 1x,
Right.
but now
Right.
you're a 10x.
Right.
And you're a 10x because you've built collaboration, you've extended the company's capability,
Yes.
you have real partnership with values that are associated with it. You increase your network, you build relationships that are meaningful, that go across a project, and they stem and get tied to a vision.
Yeah.
And so partnerships matters because collaboration is consistent. What I can't do, my partner can.
Yeah.
And we can then do it together.
Definitely. I believe there's a scripture for that.
Absolutely.
Right? It talks about, one can put to flight 1,000.
Yes.
But two can put to flight 10,000, which means there's exponential, right, power in partnership. You know what I mean?
Even in addition, you follow me on LinkedIn, so a lot of my posts are always directed like that. So the African proverb about if you want to go,
if you want to go fast, go alone.
if you want to
Go farther,
together.
go together. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So this is not nothing that's mistakable.
Yeah.
Believe
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
And if you're a believer, you understand the depth of what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
And if you're not, you should tap in.
Yeah, absolutely. Tap in. As a plug right there, you need to tap in if you don't understand, right, the power of the Holy Spirit that gives us, right, for that multiplication effect.
Right.
And so I'm gonna just flow into that part right there. And now I'll use that to go back to Georgia State because, and so when I had the honor, privilege to hire you, right at Georgia State, it wasn't really a boss employee relationship, right? We really it was really brothers, and then really brothers in Christ. Because once we found out about each other's, walk with God, we literally began to pray, right, on the phone on a weekly basis. Right, from that standpoint, and that's like I said, it's been very few weeks that we've missed over the last 6 or 7 years, right?
Very few years. I tell you, it has been, and a lot of people may see this. I mean, it depends on, where your faith level is and how you're increasing and how God is blessing you. But there is accountability.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's tied into
because we
fellowship.
We get on there, and we get to talk about stuff too.
You get
it ain't going so well.
And it's a need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you can build an accountability partner.
Yeah.
So if you look at a lot of the behavior or I say the people in the professions that study psychiatry, that study all that kind of stuff, that's fine and good. But when you are in relationship where you create accountability, where you're able to share, especially business concepts and ideas, creativity and innovation, in a forum where you don't have to be worried about who's listening, what's going on. So we built a relationship that was based on accountability and creativity from our imagination of what can be and what God has promised us. And so now we are moving to a point to where executing it despite someone else's belief.
Right.
And so that's how we move.
Definitely.
That's how we move.
And that's the thing about the things we were praying about. We were praying about the initiatives, right, that we wanted to create and launch while we were at Georgia State.
Yes.
Right. We were praying about the communities that we wanted to impact. We were praying about our employees or our coworkers, right, that we worked in organizations. And so we weren't just praying for random things or things that are kind of ethereal. Again, you can pray about anything, right? When we walk with God, you can pray about anything. But for us, we also locked in on what those prayers were in terms of the goals and the strategy and the vision that we had at that time for the place we were at. 'Cause we didn't know how long we were going to be there. We both planning on being there for a long time.
Right.
So we were planning. We began to see the manifestation of those prayers in our programs and in the relation and impact we had. And it's interesting how, even as we both moved on, we kept praying about still business and community. And now,
and the people that we work for,
absolutely,
and that we work with.
Definitely.
People come and go. So
and we've had other people join those calls, right, over time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it wasn't about us. It was about what God was doing through us in our profession.
Definitely.
Right, in the vocation that He created for us. And from that experience, and that what continues to this very date, we developed language come out of it. Or remember, DBB.
Right. Drive by blessing.
Drive by blessing.
He didn't say BBL. He said drive DBB. Drive
I ain't say that
anyway.
was Paul. Look at you heard you see him clowning, right?
Just keep going.
So I'm not gonna. He knows that if he goes the wrong way, I'm there to pick it up and take it the rest of the way.
So this is another little nugget about Donald. So Donald also is an aspiring stand-up comic.
Okay.
And you've had several some stand-up shows and
stand-up shows. I've done a few things. I'm not gonna go down that road.
Yeah, we won't go down that road.
You get me tilted that direction.
Right, no,
it's no recovery.
We're gonna bring it back. No,
it's no recovery.
Drive by blessing.
Yeah,
drive by blessing.
Drive by blessing. But I guess what I want to even comment on as it relates, to our relationship and what we tried to create, it wasn't dressed in titles. It wasn't about positions. It wasn't about everything that you read about today that would isolate you to believing that you're better than someone else. No, it was really draped in the fact that this mindset, this vocation that we've been given, there's a responsibility for us to empower ourselves, our families, and those that are around us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that, I think, it was the beauty of it, because if you're not having a good day, I would think back on some of the conversations that I had with Paul, around the experiences I was having at work.
Yeah.
And so I had an opportunity to go to a safe place. I guess that's what people call it today.
Yeah, right.
The safe place and talk about, those kind of things that would irk me. Yeah. At the job. Why are people looking at it in this way? Why can't people see it that way? So a lot of the political discussions that we've had, a lot of our own personal beliefs are all wrapped up into that open, safe space that you can communicate with someone of a like mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Paul, no, I'm silly, so that's just part of who I am. There's another part of me y'all don't even want to know about, but nonetheless.
Sorry, we won't talk about that part. But anyway, no, but I think what's powerful, I think, about that is, because you'll hear just people in general talk about entrepreneurship and say it's lonely. And it can be, right? Because, again, more people are, right, let's say work for companies than are entrepreneurs, but I think that's shifting just because of where society is. And so to me, if you are alone, in some cases, some people just choose to walk that walk alone, right? Because I believe God brings people into our lives, and then we get a choice of whether or not we're going to stay engaged, right? So even, I talk about Michael, right? Co-host who's normally here, right? He's doing production now, but, right, we've been connected since 2010, right? Or somewhere around that time. Right. So there are people, and he's been an entrepreneur all that time. So there are people, again, if we want to be connected, and sometimes we just got to open our eyes, and God has already put them in our lives in many cases, right, that we can connect, we can pray with, we can cry with, we can laugh with, right, and whatever it is to get through this journey. Because, again, also on social media, sometimes it makes it seem like it's just easy. Step 1, step 2, step 3, here's success, right? But we know that that's not true, and we know that sometimes you're going to hit your head on the wall. Right. Sometimes things are not going to work out. And then what is the response? Right. And then even what is the prayer? Right. God, I'm frustrated right now. God, I'm upset. Right. God, I'm angry right now. Or Donald, I'm upset right now because I thought what I was going to work is not working. What do we do then? And to be able to have people to kind of bounce that off, vent. Right. And I'll say in a safe space, because when you said that, that's what triggered this thought. It is in a safe space. Because, again, the goal is not to judge. Now, again, we can correct each other. We can say, okay, Donald, you think crazy right now.
Absolutely.
I heard what you said, but that's off, right?
And that's accountability.
Absolutely. But to be able to come back to, because, again, the central thing is, okay, what does the Word of God say, right? And what is the Spirit speaking, during this time to help us all, right? Because we all need that correction. We all need to get back on the right path. So we need people. Right, that we can connect with and engage with, right, from that standpoint.
Well, we are relational.
Absolutely, yeah.
So whether or not we're relational in our faith because of the relationship we have with God, if that's who we are praying to, and that's who is the center of our lives, but being a relational person, a real person, not an AI, or whatever you want to call it, it requires for you to be accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so really the foundation of everything you do, even in, my area especially is contract and procurement, federal government, all that stuff like that.
Right.
But if you take the relational part out of that, you become less competitive, and you are definitely not in the circle. So what I would encourage people to do is to learn how to relate with themselves so they can relate to others.
Right.
And
right.
then be able to discern who to connect with that will be beneficial to both of you. Because you're not going to approach a relationship and ask someone to be of assistance to you if you're not able to offer value to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in most cases, you should even offer something to them that is disassociated with your request.
Right.
Because they're more likely to remember the fact that you related to them in a situation of humility.
Right.
And without requesting.
Right.
And so down the road, your harvest becomes much greater and larger, and you not even knowing where it's coming from. And it was coming from that relational moment you had with a person where you decided to humble yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Because to me, as much as we talk about relationship, I mean, let's talk about now technology, AI, and all this other stuff. Business still comes down to relationships.
You cannot.
Right. It still. Comes down
I'm
to
probably
that.
going to write a post on that too because it's the next in line. You know, the
Okay,
brother, I line them up.
Right. Right.
But we are in a world where we have to harness the technology, and we have to pull it back from the humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have to know how to use it. It's a tool like everything else.
Right.
But it is not a substitute. And I put it
That's
like
good.
this. When you go to D.C., if you're looking for a federal government contract or whatnot, you can use all the AI tools in the world to help you be prepared. It can give you the market research. But what it cannot do, it can't stand in front of a contract officer and make eye contact, read body language, and respond likewise.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is not going to happen with AI.
Exactly.
So use it for what it's purposed for you for. You can become a super user, be well knowledgeable. You can do a number of different things, but it cannot stand in place of you developing a genuine connection with another person in a position that can help you.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's powerful. And so as we come to the end, last thing I want to kind of hit on, because it has to do with relationships. And so one of the things that you through relationship got me pulled into. Hey, Paul, let's go up to Tennessee and look at these mountains and look at people hang gliding off these mountains. I just want to get your feel for it and see what you think about it. So this guy right here, who is training, and you talk about it, training to be, I guess, what they would call a hang gliding pilot, as part of his process, decided to get me introduced and initiated. And eventually, actually, I went hang gliding, but all because I was introduced to it from Donald. So talk a little bit about. And again, really, this is where we started the conversation with aviation.
Yep.
So that's where we're going
Full
tie it up
circle.
here. Full circle.
Full
Absolutely.
circle. Again, my interest in flight, just the ability to be able to soar, really puts me closer to the grace of God than anything.
Yeah.
I think you probably might have experienced it when you went up.
I absolutely did.
Because it's extremely quiet when you're up there.
It's peaceful.
And what you hear is the air, and then you have control.
Yes.
Of where you're going. So this is not parachuting. This is not free falling.
And that's the difference for a lot. And that's what I was concerned about. I've never gone skydiving, but people who have, literally, you're falling.
You're falling.
But skydiving, literally, when they take you up, you are literally floating.
You are flying. It's not even floating. The true aerodynamic principles are in effect.
Yeah.
And now this is from my experience
I hear you.
and all of that and knowing that. So you are controlling your flight. When you are parachuting, you're falling.
Right.
Now, of course, if you pull the chute, then you might be parasailing, which you have more control. In that sense, and it is flying at that point. But when you are hang gliding, the experience I wanted you to see and get was what you did have, because that's the feeling you get every time that you're in that type of an environment, and it calms your soul. It allows you to see what God sees in you. And now you are in control. You're not free falling. You're controlling, right?
Definitely. Yep. Absolutely.
And so you're using the forces of flight to direct you where you need to go. So here's what I'm saying. This is the connection. So free falling, you're falling. You're at the wheel. of gravity.
Right. And you hoping that parachute works.
Right.
Right.
When you're hang gliding,
Yeah.
you're still at the will of several forces,
Yeah,
and not just
absolutely.
gravity.
Right.
And now you're able to control.
Yeah.
Maybe you're able to stay up larger long, and that gives you the ability to see further down the
Right.
road. It gives you clearer visions. It gives you direction that you can move to wherever your goal and your vision happens to be.
Absolutely.
And then it puts you directly in touch with God's thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's the feeling I wanted for you, because it's the feeling I have for me. So my journey in aerodynamics is not only an interest on being able to have that kind of control in flight, but it just soothes me and puts me in a space where the creativity God has created in me has the ability to just jump off the springboard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I concur, because that was exactly the feeling that I had. And of course, having never done it before, a lot of fear, a lot of concern, right? All that, and there's safety involved. But to your point though, because we were about 1,500 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Right. But in your perspective is different when you see everything else from that point. And it was, like I said, it was peaceful. It was quiet. I mean, you're there with a co-pilot. That was the only thing you could hear is that other person talking. But even like the movements in the air, right? It was subtle movements, right? To change direction. Eventually, when we came down to land, right? Everything was subtle, right? But it gives you like completely different perspective of everything, like in life, right? And everything that's happening.
Everything in life for me. It may be different from others, but I do want to just kind of piggyback on something you just said.
Yeah.
The slight movement changes and makes an enormous difference.
Right. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
if you don't know anything about hang gliding, let me just provide this.
Yeah.
Is that the way that a person controls the hang glider is by shifting their weight. And their weight is associated with the center of gravity of the hang gliding apparatus altogether.
Right.
So you have all these forces lifting this, that. So if I want to turn left or turn right, I'm shifting my body ever so slightly. And when I shift my body ever so slightly, that causes, of course, the direction of the glider to move.
Right.
And so I might just shift my body an inch, and my hang glider just woo.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to be more in control, and you have to learn the sensitivity of what you need to apply to get the results you want. So if you parallel that, that's why you're my folks. You parallel that to business. Let's go back
let's
the
go
other
back.
way.
Just tie it all together. Yeah.
So, on my LinkedIn, I had a post called Lean In.
Yeah.
Lean In talks about the aerodynamic principles of flight.
Right.
What creates lift? What creates lift actually is the airfoil, meaning air flows over the wing faster than it does underneath the wing.
Engineering lesson now too, but go ahead.
And it creates lift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you are building a business,
Yeah.
you have to expect those same forces.
Right.
And you have to overcome gravity. You have to lift yourself up. But you can't do that if you don't understand this environment that you're in.
Absolutely. And that's powerful. And just for context too, as we wrap this up, that's good, right? Because again, just to give people the difference. So if you're skydiving, well, it's you're in the air, 30 seconds? Are you in the air that long? I don't even know if it's that. Let's say if it's 30
depending
seconds.
on the altitude.
How high you are, right? 30 seconds to a minute, but it made me learn around.
And I think the body, when you let's say the average person weighs anywhere between, let's say male, 160, 190 pounds, right? So there is a certain amount of gravity that's going to pull your body down
faster,
at maybe 90, 100, 125 miles an hour going straight down.
Right.
The only force you're involved with at the time is gravity.
Yeah.
So it's pulling you based on your weight and how far you can accelerate.
Yeah.
Right. So you have very little control if you don't have nothing to divert the other forces.
Yeah, absolutely. And contrast that with hang gliding.
Hang gliding.
So I think I was probably at like 15 minutes.
15 minutes, and then you're subject to the skill of that pilot or yourself.
So it's not a quick thing. You're up there and you are literally there.
The longest hang glide, I'll put it like this. If you were moving into it, the longest hang gliding flight on record, if I'm not mistaken, could be about 8 hours.
Wow.
And that's no engine.
And that's people literally gliding on the currents of the air. So we can keep going with this. We'll have to do another show, right? Because again, that's the other thing about it too is you have the apparatus, but you're actually leveraging the currents in the air that's why they could stay up there, right, for 8 hours. They were literally, right, just flowing with the flow. And so when you're in business, because you can't control those thermals, but they can recognize, and they have devices, right, that show you where the currents are to stay in that flow. So in business, you got to see where the currents are.
Absolutely.
Right. You got to recognize it. Got to have signals. So you go flow with the current. Because if you fight against the current, you could fall. Right.
And here's the thing. I'm only going to add to that because that's a good representation of it. And when you think about it in terms of business, right? When a hang glider is flying and he's flying for a long distance period of time, and he's going to be up there for an hour, 2 hours, whatever the case may be, he probably has already mapped out the conditions of the weather. So he knows that in some cases there are going to be thermals depending on the geographic territory he's flying over. And a thermal is rising warm air.
Got you.
Right?
Got you.
And so on his hang glider itself, there's an indicator that can help him determine where those thermals are. And so his job is to navigate into one.
Okay.
And allow that thermal to lift him up.
I hope y'all hearing the business lessons here.
So in business, translating that is that from a strategic standpoint, I'm a strategic planner.
Right.
I do tactical tools. So I'm going out doing my research. I'm trying to figure out how my business is going to navigate and locate these thermals.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So when I'm able to figure that out, then I mean I can take the next thermal and rise.
Yeah. That's good.
And it will keep me in air, keep you in business longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as long as I'm doing my research and finding out where these lifting pockets are, and me being able to control the speed that I'm going at, because unlike a hang glider, an airplane has an engine, so it creates its thrust moving forward.
Right.
Your profits are your thrust moving forward.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
that's good.
You know I can go on, but I'm gonna stop right there.
No, and that's good. And I think that's a good place to stop, right? Because again, because even when I think about the thermals, I said I was going to stop, and then I kept talking. A thermal doesn't last forever, right? So you got to be looking for the next one, right? Trends don't last forever.
They do not.
Fads definitely don't last forever. So you always have to be looking for the next one.
Weather conditions change all day long.
All day long, absolutely. So no, this is good. So as we wrap up, what if you wanted to leave just one wisdom nugget for a current entrepreneur, an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe an entrepreneur who's been in business for a long time, and now they're hitting that rough patch, they're hitting that turbulence. What would you share with them about, again, how to be able to navigate through that, to continue to move forward and grow, and to become or stay a profitable business?
You want the spiritual context, or you want the regular context?
Just give it all. Yeah.
Okay.
Give me both. Yeah.
Well, let's do the spiritual real quickly. Paraphrase.
Yeah.
What happened when the storms were coming, where everybody was on the boat?
Concerned. They start calling out Jesus.
Right.
Do
what
you
happened
care
with that?
That we drown?
Who did they wake up?
Yeah, they woke up Jesus. They went to
what
Jesus.
What did he say?
He said, "Peace, be still."
Right. Keep your eyes where?
Yeah, on the shore, because we going to the other side.
Usually, the other side is the vision.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. So you got to move through this. You got to move through the storm.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be. You have to have enough faith, and you have to do enough execution. You have to rely on what you've been taught, and you have to go learn other things to move you through that obstacle. Remember, that's what I told you.
That's good.
Moving through the obstacle.
Yes.
That's when you know that you're an entrepreneur, because that's a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you moved by a current, you're gonna lose a lot of money.
Right. the currency. Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you don't have discernment, then you're going to move in the wrong direction.
Right.
But at some point, you got to move. And if you're moving according to your vision and a defined purpose, purpose is different than passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Purpose, if you look at my post, purpose really is defined in such a way where it's uncomfortable for a lot of us. It's uncomfortable.
Right.
Because purpose means that I am driven to do this.
Right.
Passion, I'm fulfilled, and it's more exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So when passion leaves, often purpose remains.
Yes.
And where purpose remains in your life, God's hand typically is on it.
Absolutely. And that is the final word right there from Donald Lamar. Man, it's been a pleasure.
Always.
Having this conversation with you in front of other people. Normally our conversations.
Can I throw up my DR group gang sign?
Yeah, please. How about just your website, not the gang sign? How about just the website?
The DRL Group, www.drlgrp.com.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
Come check us out.
Definitely.
Paul and I going to be doing some stuff a little bit later.
Absolutely.
God
Absolutely.
is moving.
Yes, sir. He is. He is. So again, especially again, if you're in that contracting space, government contracting, corporate contracting, and you need somebody hands-on, right, to walk you through the process and help you win contracts, this is your guy. And so again, it's been our pleasure to be with you on the Profit Formula. Until the next time, make sure you watching out for those thermals, right? Making sure you navigate those currents, but please make sure that you call on your Father to help you navigate that space if you want to be truly profitable. So I'll leave you with a scripture, Isaiah 48:17. The Word of God says, I will guide you in the way that will profit you. Will guide you in the way that will profit you. Isaiah 48:17. Go check it out. All right. So until next time, I'm your host, Paul Wilson Jr. This has been the Profit Formula, and we look forward to seeing your success and you grow your profits.